My name is Anthony Conlin, Performance and Development Manager here at Valley Road School, Sunderland. This is a video to explain how milestones are calculated and are used within the tracking system. Okay, so milestones themselves are used because national expectations for some pupils aren't realistic and for others are not challenging enough. The tracking system provides an individual their own milestone of where they need to be for progress based on their own prior attainment. The tracking system provides the measure termly and indicates which children are not making expected progress, who's making enough progress, and those that are making more than expected progress. The milestone actually indicates from year 3 to year 6 your 12 points progress, which is 3 points per year and 1 point per term, and from year 1 to year 2 your 6 points progress, and 3 points per year, 1 point per term, and this would be the expected standard progress. Take year 3 to year 6 first. The milestone is calculated always from the official Key Stage 1 result. Okay, if the official Key Stage 1 result was, for example, a 2B, by the end of the Key Stage, end of Key Stage 2, 4 years later, if the child's going to make 2 full levels progress, they would need to be in a 4B by the end. That would be 12 points. What the tracker system will do throughout is tell you in whatever term and year you're in, where you need to be based on that 1 point progress per term per year. So for example, if you looked at a year 3 spring mark sheet, that would be 2 terms on from the end of Key Stage 1 result. The child would need to be on a 2A. If you were to fast forward to say year 5 autumn, the child should be somewhere between a 3B and a 3A and a 4B by the end of the Key Stage. And actually that line is national anyway. However, if somebody was slightly higher achieving that and had a level 2A for example, you need to get to a 4A by the end, by year 5 autumn being somewhere between a 3A and a 4C, and in year 3 spring be on a 3C. If it was level 3, unfortunately level 3 at Key Stage 1 counts as level 3B in terms of the points, so you would need to get to a 5B by the end and be on a 4B, 4A in year 5 autumn. And a level 1 works the same way, counts as a 1B, and you need to get to a 3B by the end. In terms of how it looks like in Sims, in terms of the indications, I'm just going to flick to the test system, go to focus, assessment and mark sheet entry. I'm going to bring up a year 6 mark sheet. We'll have a look at the milestones in there. I always click narrow and calculate to fit as much on the screen as you can and separate the sections. So the important factors here for the milestone is the Key Stage 1 result, the official Key Stage 1 result here, and then this section here which is to do with the milestones. So this area here is the individual's progress expectation of where they need to be based on their own Key Stage 1 result. So for Stan, he got a 2C at Key Stage 1, which means he's going to need to get to a 4C by the end of year 6. This is year 6 autumn, so really he needs to be in at least a 3A by now. So that is how that is calculated. If I were to go back to the end of the previous year, the last assessment, the last term, in year 5, it would say that Stan would need to have been between a 3B and 3A. So it's 1 point per term added on. This column here will indicate the status, whether the child is above, which is indicated by a plus and a green, whether they are at the expectation, which is indicated by the equals, or whether they are below, which is indicated by a minus and red. So for Stan, he needed to be at a 3A if he's going to make expected progress. He's currently on a 4C, so therefore he's above. He's making more than enough progress. And the same for the next child. The third child was on a level W at Key Stage 1. 2 full levels on from that would be a 2B by the end, so 2C in this particular term. So actually that child is below where Keith was also on W, needed to be at 2C, is on a 2C, so is equal to. The indication column here for milestones is a 0 if you're below, you're not making enough progress, and a 1 if you're at or above, so you're making at least enough progress, if not more. And when you bring the summary button on, it's going to give you down here your percentage of children that are currently making enough progress. So 75% of these children are currently making expected progress. Okay, so that's from year 3 to year 6. It works ever so slightly different from year 1 to year 2, as we don't have the same official starting point as we do for Key Stage 1 from year 3 to 6. I have looked at previously using the foundation stage profile, but that's now finished anyway and was problematic. So instead, we're suggesting that you do an assessment in year 1, autumn 1, and that will act as the baseline, and 1 point per term for the 2 years will be added onto that for where they need to be. So for example, if you were to assess somebody at a 1B in autumn of year 1, by spring of year 1 they need to get to a 1A, which is 2 terms on, and by the end of year 2, the 6 terms later, they need to get to a 2B to make the same progress. You'll notice here that there are some P scales. The system will let you enter P scales. The points for them have been worked backwards from a 1C, so a 1C is 7 points, P8 is 6, and so on down to P3II, which is 1 point, and everything else is 1 point below that. And this will do the same in terms of if you put a P6 in there, add the number of points on number of terms on to show where you need to be for progress from that point. Okay, it's optional how you use that year 1 autumn 1 assessment, and whether or not you want to use P scales in there, whether you feel it's appropriate or not. Just putting a level W in will only give you 3 points. However, you can, the system will allow you to put in a WA, which would be 5, or a WC, which would be 1. You may choose to use that instead of the P scales, or alternatively just leave that blank completely. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look at one of the mark sheets from year 1 or 2. So focus assessment mark sheet entry VRY2. Let's look in the autumn term again. I'm going to narrow and calculate just to make the sections fit in a bit nicer. So here, the foundation stage profile information isn't used, so these aren't the important factors for this milestone. It's this column which is the important one, the year 1 autumn 1 baseline. So 1 point per term is added onto this to get the expectation of where the child needs to be for their own progress. So both, well actually Chris here is on a P8, or was on a P8 in year 1 autumn. So really by the time he's here, 4 terms on from that, he needs to be between a 1B and 1A. The next two children both on a 1C, so they really need to be at 1As. And the 4th child was on a 1B, so needed to be at a 2C. And you can see where they are. And again, the indications here, the status, the minus, equals and plus, and the colours, and the milestone indications all work exactly the same as before. Thank you.